A father, his daughter, and one very memorable summer vacation in the mid-1990s. This is Aftersun.
Oh, you mean dusk. Up top. Anyone? No?
Hey, what's up, film friends? I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film. So stoked to be back with you guys today. I know what many of you are probably thinking. Where have you been? We've been waiting weeks and weeks for you to put out new content, and you're nowhere to be found. Well, guys, we had some family illnesses and a little flu from my videographer that took us down for the count for a couple weeks. But we're back, and we are better than ever. I know what you've all been waiting for. When is this Avatar Way of Water review coming? Well, guys, I know this is hard to believe, but I'm not famous enough to get the pre-screeners yet. But don't worry, that will be coming soon. In the meantime, if you'd like to check out our 2 videos, which detail all of the films of James Cameron ranked, we'll leave a link in the description for you guys, and you can check out those other videos on the channel. But today, I'm excited because we have our very first individual film review, and I selected for it one of the best films I've yet seen in 2022. Without further ado, Aftersun. Now, as I said at the top, Aftersun is a pretty simple story, plot-wise. It basically details a charming, sweet summer vacation between a father named Callum and his daughter Sophie. And they're hanging out together in Turkey, mostly kind of lounging around a resort, going scuba diving together, and visiting a Turkish rug shop. But even as we're watching these simple events unfold, we start to feel like there's something deeper going on with the father character. Now, one of the things that makes Aftersun such an interesting film is that it is kind of a genre mashup. On the one hand, it is a vacation picture and a picture about going on holiday in exotic and different lands. It's also a father-daughter connection and heartstring pulling picture. Then there's a preteen, adolescent kind of coming of age drama. And finally, perhaps most of all, a genuine mystery. But the bow that ties it all together is one of the most artistic and cerebral reflections on memory that I've ever seen. Now, it's not too hard to come up with the things that I actually really liked about Aftersun, but I'll start with the cinematography. From the outset, there are all of these bright tones. Now, this partially makes sense because it's taking place at a summer resort during these warm, sort of hazy months. But all the tones are bright, the hues are hazy and kind of washed out, and this gives everything an air of memory. Remember that for later on. But what's really the most impressive thing about the cinematography in Aftersun is how director Charlotte Wells and her cinematographer Gregory Oak choose to capture images within other images. Now, this may seem a little confusing, but if you watch the picture, you'll see what I mean. The best example of this that I can think of is in a scene where the Sophie character, the 11-year-old girl, is doing kind of an off-the-cuff impromptu interview of her father, Callum. In this interview, she's using this brand new camcorder to capture what he is saying. But that's not the image that we actually see. Instead, we get to see a 90s television with a black screen and the reflection of Callum's character as he's sort of hesitantly responding to these questions. And that's just one of those kinds of choices. In another scene, it's a glass table which casts a reflection that shows other images. It's all just these little details and little moments. And the score matches that too. It's these little string accompaniments that are sort of probing us into reflection. In a second, I'll return to why that is so significant. But before I do, I just want to take a moment to highlight the incredible performances of the 2 leads in this film. I've been a huge Paul Mescal guy ever since I saw him in Hulu's Normal People last year. Mescal, I think, is almost punching up in this picture. He's kind of ahead of the curve. I did not expect him to be playing an early 30-something father already at his younger age, but he completely nails the role because he's got to do 2 conflicting things at once. On the one hand, he needs to be portraying this compassion and this genuine depth of feeling and connection with his daughter Sophie. And yet on the other, it appears that he's hiding something, that there are things that he's keeping close to his vest, some trauma and some buried pain. That's Mescal. Now Sophie, Frankie Corio's character, in her very first film role, is just entirely precocious. What she needs to do is no less challenging. Her character is going through this very awkward middle school-ass sort of nascent coming of age. And so she's meeting a boy in the arcade and playing, you know, these penny games with him. Or hanging around the older teens as they talk about, you know, kissing and touching and little taboo things that are a part of her sexual awakening. Together, they're just remarkable. So as you can see, there's a ton to like. The question remains, are there any critiques, any digs, anything that I want to highlight? Well, you know, I think the common criticism of this film is that it's kind of a bittersweet affair in which not that much really happens. But I think that one is actually pretty defensible. Now, there were a couple of moments where I thought I was watching a first-time director, as I was, and a couple sequences which appear a little bit inert. But in general, I feel like the pacing was very purposeful, and it highlighted what we were getting at in terms of memory and details. Now, we have to be really careful here because I want to avoid spoilers. We'll get to those in a second. But I'll just say as a way of sort of priming the pump that there are really two different time periods going on here. And the way that Charlotte Wells, the first-time director, introduces us to this is through the use of these interstitials. We don't really know what's going on in them. They're sort of shrouded in mystery. They're quick cut throughout the narrative going along, but they appear to portray what is a strobing light sequence on a kind of dance floor in which a woman is approaching a man. Now, we don't know who these people are, but they keep infiltrating the narrative. So as it becomes clearer to us that this is a memory picture, that they're actually kind of reflecting back on a period of time from a more present moment, then the details begin to make sense. Because how does memory really work, after all? There's an expression that memory is a faulty camera. And by that it means our reminiscences, the thing that we think about, are kind of a hodgepodge of things. Some of them are concrete details, like say a Turkish rug, and some of them are more abstract or obscure, or just impressions of things that we felt. And Charlotte Wells is doing this gritty work of capturing memory in this incredibly artistic form. Now, if you don't want this film spoiled for you at all, then you can take a look in the description and we will let you know exactly when this segment of spoiling begins and ends. All right, so now on to some reflections on the third act. And welcome to the Insiders Club of us who have seen this film together. The reason that all of these details, and the father in particular, are just out of focus, or just out of frame, are because these are the reflections of an 11-year-old mind. And through a lot of pixelated camcorder footage and concrete details that are just like memory of what it would be like to be a child in the 90s, we begin to piece together that these are the reflections of the adult Sophie looking back on that time of her life. And we learn that there was so much hidden underneath the surface of the fathered character that's only really revealed after the fact. Then Wells brings all of this together in a final artistic moment where the interstitials come full circle, and we realize that this is a moment in time that this woman, who's now about the age of her father, is trying to bring back to the surface so she can process it and remember it again. This one moment in time with her father. It's an incredibly powerful ending to a very thoughtful and pensive film that, yeah, doesn't do all that much, but has artistic flourishes and little intricate and meticulous details in spades. And it's got this remarkable conclusion that all of us can leave and ruminate on. In the end, if you like a sort of cozy up and sit with this picture and watch it unfold before your eyes, if you want to see a tormented soul who's wrestling with a traumatic past and trying to overcome it for his daughter, then I think Aftersun's for you. Since this is our first individual review, just so you know, we use a 5-star rating system, and FOF gives this film Aftersun 4.3 out of 5 stars. Well, there you have it. Have you seen it? What do you like? Comment below and let me know what you're thinking. As always, if you enjoyed this review and would like to see more, please like and subscribe. I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film. Stay firm, my friends.